Satellite view of the bomb cyclone that blasted the west coast in the past 24 hours. The storm was hundreds of kilometers offshore, but it still packed a punch with hurricane-force winds. The gusts taking down countless trees, some landing on houses, even a boat. At its peak, more than 300,000 people were without power. The wind even too much for this small plane on Vancouver Island. Good evening and thanks for joining us. A major cleanup is underway tonight after that bomb cyclone brought winds of up to 170 kilometers an hour in some places. The damage left behind is widespread. We have team coverage from the island to Metro Vancouver, where massive trees were no match for the fierce winds. We start with CTV's Rob Buffum live in Victoria. And Rob, the island especially got hit hard.
It sure did, Mija. Near record winds pummeled the North Island, and winds all across Vancouver Island left nearly 150,000 homes in the dark. The cleanup is well underway after a night of chaos, including near Souk, where a massive tree toppled onto this home.
6 p.m. we just heard a large crash and a boom,
leaving its owners with a night full of worry but no sleep.
After that, it was listening to this tree settling, which was what's going to happen, like how bad is this going to get.
Last night's bomb cyclone left a path of destruction in its wake across Vancouver Island. Winds gusting up to 170 kilometers off the coast of the island, knocking down trees across roads, snapping power lines, and creating havoc with highways.
Watched a few cars smash through some trees and branches and left on the side of the road.
The fierce wind lifted and tossed this small aircraft off the Courtney airstrip like a toy plane and sent large branches flying, shutting down Highway 4, where traffic was backed up today, cutting off communities like Port Alberni from the rest of the island. Meanwhile, old-growth trees that fell near Tofino left folks there stranded overnight.
Basically cut Tofino in half on the highway, and so people couldn't get through either to get home or get downtown last night. Some had to walk around, some crawled around through the bush, and other people slept in their trucks.
At its peak, the storm left 150,000 homes on Vancouver Island dark.
From Port Renfrew to Port Hardy, it hit basically every community on the island. We had crews working throughout the night. We had brought crews over from the mainland before the storm hit.
A fleet of BC Hydro trucks boarded BC ferries to help restore power to the remaining 75,000 customers still without power. A task predicted to take days. Winds were still strong in Victoria by midday, but dissipating. A reprieve before another storm was expected to blast here Friday morning.
Similar to what we just saw, right now we're just tabulating exactly how strong those winds will be.
As islanders brace for a storm season that's hitting its stride.
So, Rob, as you mentioned, we're not done with the extreme weather. What can we expect with the next storm on the horizon?
Well, Mijing, the next storm is expected to hit on Friday morning and last well into Saturday. The winds are expected to be similar gust speeds as we saw overnight, but they say there could be more rain, as much as 100 millimeters over 48 hours in various spots on the south coast. So we are certainly not out of this yet, Mijing.
All right, thank you. Rob Buffum reporting live from Victoria. The island may have borne the brunt, but Metro Vancouver was not spared. CTV's Ben Milger is live with that part of our coverage. Ben.
Yeah, Mijung, the impacts of this storm varied widely across the lower mainland, with people in some places calling it a dud, while others spent the night in the dark after big trees came crashing down on power lines.
Hurricane-force winds battered the coast, toppling large trees. The most severe gusts hit the island, but Metro Vancouver was not entirely spared. In Port Coquitlam, a big tree came down across a boat, and nearby the wind ripped these ones up by the roots, sending them crashing into a house.
All of a sudden, I just heard this like a bomb went off. The old lady grabbed me and said, "What's that?" I says, "I don't know." And I went out and investigated and seen the big tree in the back of my family room.
This exploding transformer in East Van lit up the night, one of a number of incidents that left 50,000 customers in the lower mainland in the dark. That number includes several hundred in West Point Grey without power for 15 hours after a tree came down on the lines just before 8:30 Tuesday night.
There was a bunch of flashes of light from this tree just over here, and lots of sort of electrical sounds, buzzing, humming.
By midday Wednesday, BC Hydro had restored power for the majority of customers in Metro Vancouver, except a few hundred scattered in small pockets.
Our crews have worked really hard to get power restored to those customers. We are now moving some of the crews from the Lower Mainland to Vancouver Island to support with restoration efforts there.
High winds and choppy seas forced BC Ferries to cancel a number of sailings, much to the disappointment of this Victoria-bound customer who Ubered back and forth to Pitt Meadows Tuesday night.
Then back out here, I checked this morning at 5 o'clock, weren't canceled, so I Ubered out here again, and to find out it's canceled. So I'm SOL.
Yeah, frustrating for those ferries passengers. Ben, what is the status with BC Ferries tonight?
Well, ferry service on most southern routes has largely returned to normal, but as this storm makes its way north, those persistent high winds and choppy seas are following it, and that is causing disruptions elsewhere. Anyone who is anticipating traveling tonight is definitely advised to check ahead before they head out to the terminal. Mi Jung?
Ben Milger reporting live tonight. Thanks, Ben.